you like biryani? Try to think about the flavor of biryani the last time you had it, vegetarian or non-vegetarian, whatever sort of biryani you had last time. Now, try to think about biryani from a food history perspective. How many years, how many centuries has it taken for biryani to acquire the taste which we enjoy today? It's not a one day's work. It's a long process. Utility of research papers begins when you start thinking about applying for a research position, which can be MS or PhD, and it never ends from then and there. So it's a very important art of reading research paper which will be presented here. Before watching this video, you can go and check our videos where we have discussed how to approach a professor or how to filter a college for your PhD or for your master's application. In that application process, reading research papers and finding data from it is the most important part when you start approaching professors, advisors, lab. So please watch this video till the end. After watching the video in the description, whenever we mention the word research paper, students are scared to death from your plus two level, undergrad, masters, whichever level you belong to. It's a scary word. In this video, we'll try to remove the fear part out of the research paper and we'll see if we can make the process easier for you whenever you are reading a research paper. Step number one, acknowledge your fear. Address it. Yes, research paper is a very heavy document. It's tough to read. If it was easy, we would have been seeing those uncles on chai tapris reading research papers, but we don't, right? So it is indeed tough. Next question is, why is it tough? Whenever you do a research, the term itself suggests it's research. You are trying to find out something from the already established things. A lot of preparation goes into research. For example, if you are trying to degrade something using bacteria, you're trying to use cloning to degrade a substance, you have to prepare the bacteria. So chemicals, protocols, experiments, it's a long process. Still to this date in India, some PhDs are awarded on just one single research paper publication. So technically speaking, one paper might have 5-6 years of hard work behind it. The student, the guy who's publishing the paper has worked for 4, 5, 6 years to publish that piece of paper which is in your hand in 4 or 5 pages only. So why shouldn't it be tough to summarize those 6 years in 5 pages? That is why it is tough. We'll now take example of a research paper, a published article, and then try to figure out how we can start reading it. Try to remember the last point I mentioned about the duration of PhD. So here you have to perceive it like 5 years of work is summarized in 5 pages. So one page equals 1 year. Most important part is title here. Be very specific while reading the title. Give it time. Read it 2 or 3 times. So I'll do it for you here. Gut microbiota promotes cholesterol gallstone formation by modulating bile acid composition and biliary cholesterol secretion. Think about it word by word. Try to understand each word here. What is gut? What is microbiota? I'll help you a bit here. Microbiota is bacteria which resides in the body. There is harmful bacteria, there is bad bacteria. There has been a lot of talk about microbiota recently in terms of health and fitness. So that's where the word comes from. Promotes cholesterol gallstone formation. That means gut microbiota, bacteria in the gut promotes gallstone formation by modulating bile acid composition. So I think you know already what gallstone is. And then the title says how the bacteria does it. So that's the title for you. And then authors, it's not that important. You have to scroll down a bit. Some papers have keywords. This one doesn't have. If the paper has keywords, please read all the keywords. Try to understand those keywords in as detail as possible because those keywords are repeated several times throughout the course of the length of the paper. So it's very important for you to understand what each word means. Next step is get a feel of it. Just scroll through the papers. The date of publication is here, 2022. Authors, colleges where they belong to, what paper comprises of, like I mentioned. Usually, first part is the introduction. It's like a literary background of what they have tried to do. It's filled with references. You see the numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Reference format can be different. Some people mention it in brackets, and that number can be checked at the end of the paper in reference section. in the serial number order. So just take a feel of it, scroll through papers, what exists in the paper. Take a very quick look, ends here, references. If I summarize the segments for you, first they give an introduction where they give the literature background. This is the most important part. First, you have to read the abstract word by word, just like the title. Try to understand as much as possible. You will not get 100% of it. Be very sure about it. If you are a beginner, just be accepting of the fact that it is a tough document. It will take time, take efforts in order for you to understand all of it. So read and understand. When abstract starts making sense after 4, 5, 6 readings, it might even take days. Give it time, let it be, let it sink in. And then you have to go for the introduction. In introduction, they have given references. They always give references. Whichever point you read, just like abstract, read it in detail, try to understand what it means. If you don't get it, just the number here, like in this paper, they have hyperlinks. I can click on number 1. It will lead me to number 1 reference here, which is an update on the pathogenesis of cholesterol gallstone disease. If they don't have the link, you can just scroll down, see the number, and copy the title from here and try to paste it on Google again to see which paper you get. See, there's a paper published in 2018. Luckily for you, it's also a free paper. So if this paper's introduction's first line is very tough for you, go to the references. Try to read this one's introduction first. So as you see, it's a chain of process which begins when you start reading a paper. What happens is that you read one paper, you read one more, you read 5 more, and then out of these 4, 5 ideas, you start creating your own research ideas. This will help you a lot in your dissertation, projects, PhD thesis, pre-PhD presentation, and whatnot. So do not be in a rush. It's not a comic book which you will finish in an hour and enjoy with the thrill of it. You will not do that here. After introduction, most papers have materials and methods, which has protocols, procedures on how they have done those experiments. What experiments were done, which ones were performed in order to get to these results. Some of the research papers, like this one is a short one, they directly go to the results. They mention how they achieved it, and they mention the results in terms of data, graphs, patterns, and lot of other representations. The same process again, read each line in materials and methods, read the experiment's name. If you don't know it, Google it. Read about the concept of it. Because again, this one sheet is 1 year of work. You will not get it in 1 minute or 2 minutes. You have to give it time. So results are categorized in several parts. Each part of it usually has a complementary image or a graph to represent what was seen while doing the research. In result, you don't have to give your opinion. You just have to represent, you just have to quote what was found in the study. When you go through the results and methods, when you pass through this tough journey, you lead to discussion. This is where you start giving interpretations, perceptions, results, and what utility these results have for you. This is when that information comes. Methods, like I mentioned, you see here, there is patient information, my study, which mice was used. This is going to sound very complicated for you. Please read, like for example, male C57BL/6J mice. You have to copy it, paste it, try to find what is very special about this mice. That will help you understand. So one paper in the beginning is going to take a lot of time. Then towards the end, authors give acknowledgements, people who have given help during the study, and it's followed by references, which is a very important part. If you haven't guessed by now, so one and single tip is that always sink deep into the title. Try to see if it relates to your work. If it does, then you have to go for abstract, which is present here. This will give you a deeper idea of what the paper is all about. Is it relevant for you or is it not? Because sometimes you might be starting to read some papers, and by the time you go through results and discussion, you realize that this is not the paper you wanted to read. This is not adding any value to your research career. So you have to skip those papers. For skipping that part, you have to give more time to title and abstract. An extra hour given here will save you 4, 5 hours in future for each paper. So please make this habit of sinking deep into the title and then into the introduction. And if abstract sounds promising to you, if you find utility in it, then only you can go for introduction or directly go for results and discussion and see what is being discussed, and then go for materials and methods and results, because these 2, 3 are the most difficult ones to read, most difficult ones to interpret. And I hope these two videos together will add a lot of value in your research journey.